Good evening, class. The goal of current affairs test series for civil services prelims examination launched by R.C. Reddy IAS Study Circle is fundamentally to provide the qualitative current affairs based MCQ questions in order to ensure that the current affairs part of the prelims examination is taken care. Now, you might ask, sir, why in specific an MCQ format of studying current affairs or understanding current affairs? Is one major reason for that is to consolidate the bulky sources into question format. And not only that, it would enable to reframe the content that you have read in the form of a question, because generally what happens is a candidate before appearing for prelims examination reads this current affairs in the form of paragraphs or in the form of magazines, and by themselves or by the aspirants by themselves they are supposed to reframe these questions, and this format or this test series would enable you to have these reframed questions. The third aspect is to fundamentally train your brain to solve an MCQ which is based on current affairs, because at the end of the day when we look at prelims examination, it's more of an objective examination. The fourth reason why we have to look into this aspect is to access to quality content, and when we look at quality content, it is fundamentally by reading the explanations that are provided after every test. And the fifth aspect of this particular, or the fifth reason why at all are we looking into the MCQ format of current affairs, is majorly to analyze. And in the aspect of analysis or the post-test analysis that we conduct as a form of class, is to fundamentally teach you certain techniques in solving these questions. Because at the end of the day, what happens is we see that as an aspirant, we observe that it is very, very difficult for us to remember things. And in that context, what happens is this post-test analysis session would enable for better retention, better recollection, and as such, the MCQ format by itself will enable you to remember better. And it is my responsibility to state at this juncture that the team which is working for framing these questions is putting in a lot of hard work to look at the current affairs from multiple sources, frame the respective questions, in the format which is being asked at present by the civil services. And apart from that, we also see that there is a lot of brainstorming that is going on with respect to what should be the nature or what should be the composition of each question paper. And when we look at the quality of the explanations that are provided, I think that shows or that stands as a testimonial for the amount of hard work that is put by the team. I would say that make best use of it. And I think now we would get into our session of the explanation for the test 1 of current affairs. And I think you would get the corresponding explanations after the analysis session, right? And what I would want you to immediately do it is read the explanation before you sleep today, right? Now there is a purpose and there is a way of doing this explanations part. That explanation part would be roughly around say 40 pages. Now from this 40 pages, you do one thing, that either you write it up or you update in a question paper, or make some 5 to 6 pages notes from this 40 pages. Now what should be the content of this 5 to 6 pages is majorly with respect to, you will be writing those things which you don't remember. That has to be the fund, or that has to be the underlying current with respect to how are you preparing this 5-6 pages of notes. If you are able to write and if you are able to identify those things which you don't know, now what happens is it's my business and it is easy for you to revise, right? Now what will be the addition to this 5-6 pages is whatever analysis we are doing today, right? After every current affairs test, we would have an analysis, and when you observe this analysis, we would see that what is not given in explanations will be seen as part of analysis. Kada explanation lo ichindi chepte Right? You will be like, right? So in that context, we will see different perspectives with respect to what kind of analysis can we get with respect to these different questions. Right? Now, I think right away we'll get into our business. Everybody has the question paper, right? So with that confidence, I'm not displaying the question paper here. There's no point, right? Now, first question. Indian festivals associated states, some of the common areas or some of the common aspects of UPSC, right? Now, one simple trick that I would tell you to follow in this context is look at etymology. Look at etymology. Now, when you look at etymology, I think those which are complex names are majorly from Northeast. Those which are complex names are majorly from Northeast. And what I want you to keep things ready with you is one thing that you would have to keep ready is with respect to Northeast, make a list of the festivals that you are supposed to read. Look at the tiger reserves in the Northeast. Look at the names of wildlife sanctuaries and national parks in the Northeast. And look at the topography or physiography in India and Northeast, especially with respect to the hills. For example, Miri, Mishmi, Abhor, Barel, right, Patkaibum. All of these are different ranges which are existing. Now you need to have one page notes on all of this. And one more thing that you're supposed to do is you're supposed to do both of this for Andaman and Nicobar. Because these are somewhere the favorite areas of UPSC that are generally seen. Especially with respect to the tiger reserves, wildlife sanctuaries, the kind of biodiversity that is existing. I want you to have a notes with respect to Andaman and Nicobar as well as Northeast. Aajkal Maldives ki issue ke baad, we see Lakshadweep has come into the picture, and I think we have a question on Lakshadweep, and we'll see certain aspects of Lakshadweep there, right? So that is one thing. Now when you look at this question, the answer was, all of them were right. Now here is some list that is away from the thing. Don't worry, I would share this with you. I would share the list with you, or probably I would share the PPT with you. You can see, right? Now you see that different names with respect to Assam we have seen, different chunk with respect to Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland. Now sir, how should we remember this? Ek to dekh lena. And when you see what happens is, look at the names, my dear. Something like, wherever we see abundance of O's and U's, right? Wherever we see abundance of O's and U's, we majorly see either it is Arunachal Pradesh or Sikkim. Right? That is one common understanding, or that is one common observation with respect to etymology. We would see a similar kind of etymology when we look at the world aspects also. I think I already told you in my classes that wherever we see more of O, that is majorly it is Africa. Wherever we see more of OV, we see majorly it is Russia, right? Wherever we see more of vowels, it is seen to be Europe. And I think those names of China, those names of South Korea, those names of Japan, you can easily identify. You can easily identify, right? Which you can't pronounce easily, and those are names of these things, right? Some common etymological kind of thing. For example, if you look at, and one more etymology that you can remember is wherever you get Kut. Wherever you get Kut, it is majorly Mizoram. Wherever you get Kut, it is majorly Mizoram. Just dekh lena, right? Look at that one particular aspect, okay? So this is one dimension that you need to understand with respect to the first question. The answer is all of the above. I will share this dimension with you. Okay. Next. Second question. आजकल बहुत चल रहा है चंद्रयान, ठीक है? So you see, the second question is, peregrine lander is related to which of the following? Now when you look at the options, spacecraft to bring back soil samples from near Earth asteroid, spacecraft designed for lunar exploration, for Mars exploration or Mars craters, or lands on Mars moons, right? Now here you fundamentally have to understand that in geography we know something called as, if I have to look at this question and if I have to solve it without knowing anything, I know that there is something called as perigee and apogee. And when you look at the name appears very similar. The name appears very similar. The name is more of a homophone to perigee. Now when you find it to be a homophone of perigee, we can relate it with saying that it is something which is related to moon, right? Some of the very, very important aspects or important missions that are seen, we see that lunar mission is by USSR, right? You remember just before Chandrayaan 3, Luna 25 or something was launched, and we got more popularity because it failed. Nee? Yes, right? Otherwise whole of the world attention was that, right? Then we see Apollo is with respect to US, Surveyor is with respect to US, then Slim, the recent one, that is with respect to Japan, that happened in January 2024. Slim, I think we had a question on Slim, that is with respect to Japan, and Shangi, that is with respect to China. We have something called as Bereshit, that is with respect to Israel. Bereshit, that is with respect to Israel. So we see that these are different programs which are existing with respect to your moon, right? We know two words are very, very common these days. They are talking about something called as soft landing. The other one is South Pole. One is they say south side or south pole of moon. The other one is with respect to soft landing. Now when you try to observe what is this common understanding of soft landing is, you know, landing which is soft. What is a soft landing? You fundamentally have to understand that without disturbing the surface of the moon, as well as without disturbing the instruments in the whatever lander you are looking into, that is what is called as soft landing. Now when you look at why South Pole has become a very, very important dimension of exploration, is we see that this is completely dark region. That means there is no aspect of sunlight that is existing, and when it is completely dark, we see that there can be evidences of water resources and corresponding minerals to be present in that particular region. Just as a point of exploration, just as a point of understanding the geological time scales to a larger extent, or the point of evolution, we see that these resources which are present on the dark sides or the south pole of the moon becomes relevant there, right? So that is another dimension. Now one more related concept to this moon exploration to a larger extent is Artemis Accord. Artemis Accord. We see that last July in 2023, India was supposed to be the 27th member of Artemis Accord. When you look at this Artemis Accord, the simplest understanding of this Artemis Accord is safe exploration and ethical usage of the data from the moon. Safe exploration and the ethical usage of data from the moon is what is seen with respect to your Artemis Accord. And previously we had opposed by not joining Artemis Accord, but in July 2023, India had joined Artemis Accord. Right? Please remember that. Is China part of Artemis Accord? Is China part of it? India or China? Yes or no? Is China part of this? Verify that. Ek baar dekh lena bhai. Right? Always remember that when you look at your international relations and especially current affairs, wherever we have US, we'll have Japan. Wherever we have US, we'll have Australia. And wherever we have Australia, we will have New Zealand. Wherever we have US, we have Canada. This is one bunch. This is one bunch. And generally, wherever we have US, we will generally not have Russia or China. Right? And you will see, India will be present wherever it wants. Scratch untadu mar. Right? Wherever it wants to be present, because we follow something called as interest-based relations. Right? That is what is generally seen with respect to this. So question number 2 answer is B. Next, question number 3. Sea cell plant. A sea cell plant. Now if you look at the structure of sea cell plant, it will be very, very similar to your aloe vera. Right? It will be very, very similar to aloe vera. And what is the sea cell plant is, you see that majorly it is a xerophytic plant. And when you talk about xerophytic plant, what is xerophytic plant? Those plants which grow in dry aspects, dry seasons, right? Xerarchs. If you look at your ecological succession process, there you study something about xerarchs. right? Or you study about something called as the transitionary phase. In that context, what do we observe? We see that if it is a xerophytic substance. And not only that it is xerophytic, we know that there are certain adaptive features for it to be xerophytic. What kind of adaptive features we see is majorly thick waxy leaves, thorny structures, long roots. All of these are commonly seen with respect to your sessile plants. Now here, when we look at sessile plants, there are a number of applications with respect to sessile plants, and one such application is fiber extraction. Fiber extraction. And here one small point of discussion that we are supposed to look into is, we see that whenever we talk about fiber structures, we see there are natural fibers. And here what happened is, we see that આજકાલ we are discussing about textile sector a lot. We see that normal natural textiles as well as technical textiles. I think there is one question with respect to technical textiles. So in that context, what do you observe here? We see that natural fibers can be sourced either from animal or plant. And we see from plants, we see that there are different parts of the plant which can result in the fibrous structures, right? You will have to remember these things because UPSC has the history of asking these questions, right? It was not asked only in prelims examination, it was even asked in 2021 or 2019 Indian Forest Service mains examination. So in that context, what you have to observe, you see that these are the different sources which you can refer. I'm not reading out these things, right? Then apart from that, we also see the animal fibers are also sourced from different aspects. We know wool, we know silk, right? Wool and silk happens to be one of the major animal fibers. Now in this context, when you observe this wool and silk with respect to animal fibers, we see that wool is sourced from different aspects. One is with respect to sheep, the other one is with respect to rabbits, the other one is with respect to yaks, right? You would have heard about something called as pashmina wool, right? Kashmir. So here we see that there are different sources which are present with respect to the wool fiber, wool as a fiber, right? So that is one thing that you're supposed to understand. And one small reference that if you have to look into this understanding, 2009 was declared as the International Year of Natural Fibers. And we are in which year, my dear? 2024, that means how many years? 15 years. 15 years? 25 years, 15 years. Right? So 2009 was declared as the International Year of Natural Fibers. Right? Natural fibers. So that is one more understanding that you can remember from this particular question. And recently, sessile plant was in the news for which of the following reasons? High absorption capacities. High absorption capacities, right? If you just knew that sessile plant was xerophytic, you would have understood this dimension. Okay? Next. Fourth question. Camptothecin. Peru. Right? Now when you talk about this camptothecin, which was recently in news, is which of the following? Now the answer is anti-cancer drug. Anti-cancer drug, I think day before yesterday we had a breakthrough with respect to CART, right? With respect to CART. Now here when you look at this CART, just understand one basic understanding about these systems. That we see CART cell therapy is what is one thing which we had seen a breakthrough, and the person came out saying that instead of 4 crores I paid only 42 lakhs, something like that with respect to the treatment. Now when you look at this, we know that when we look at general immune system, what do we see? That our immune system constitutes two kinds of things. One is T cells, the other one is B cell. Or we see there was a question in 2022, one is either it is cell mediated or humoral kinds of immunity. Now here what is understood is we take out this T cell. Once this T cell is extracted, what it is done with respect to this T cell is we insert something called as CAR, chimeric antigen receptor. When we infuse this chimeric antigen receptor, what is generally done is, and once we insert this chimeric antigen receptor into this with the T cell, what is going to happen is we see that there is a composite which is formed, and this composite is your CAR T cell. And what is done is this CAR T cell is multiplied. This is multiplied, and as it is multiplied, it is infused into the body, and what it is observed, and this is going to go and fight with the cancer cells. That is what is the general process of treatment that is seen. As just brief understanding. a brief understanding, right? So that is one understanding with respect to this, because you know that the cell multiplication process is generally done in vitro, that we see, right? And this is what is the supply chain that is seen with respect to this, right? Next question, fifth question. Consider the following statements regarding UNESCO World Heritage Committee. India happens to be now in this, they are asking you incorrect statements. Now when you look at these incorrect statements, now recently there was a news which was talking about what, my dear? You see that India happens to be chairing it for the first time, right? So your first statement is right. Then second statement is what? It meets at least twice a year. Is it so? It meets every year. Because don't you think, now how to remember this, how to use logic? Now don't you think every year we have something or the other being added to World Heritage Sites? Or if it is sitting twice or once in 2 years, is it possible to have new World Heritage Sites every year? No. 2022 we had, 2023 we had, 2024 we will have, because tentative list kuch aaya tha. So that means if it is happening on an yearly basis, they should be sitting every year, right? One. Then, so second statement is wrong. It has the final say on whether a property is inscribed on the World Heritage list or not. అందుకే కదమ్మా దాన్ని వరల్డ్ హెరిటేజ్ కమిటీ అంటున్నాం. Otherwise, what is the point, right? Now here you have to understand that these world heritage systems can be what, my dear? These world heritage systems can be both natural as well as cultural. Both natural as well as cultural. And we see what is happening is, we see there are 10 different criteria. Should it meet all the 10 different criteria? No. If it meets any of these one, if it meets one out of these 10 criteria, then you can declare that particular site to be World Heritage Site. And who suggests this World Heritage Site tentative list? The country gives the list, the UNESCO decides, then we have finalization. And whose role is finalization in this? The role of World Heritage Committee. The role of World Heritage Committee is to finalize whether a particular site is going to be part of this World Heritage Sites or not, right? Now what is the advantage of it? You see the tourism potential will be there. The financing mechanism is also taken care, and the resource mobilization happens to a larger extent, right? So these are the three different common aspects that is seen with respect to this, right? Then next, sixth question. Consider the following statements regarding urea gold. Urea gold. Gold aithe emi, silver aithe emi. Urea. Urea is for what? Tintamaya. Deniki istam? Fertilizers. It is a sulfur coated urea. Okay. It has added humic acid that quickens the urea action to enhance the nutrient availability. Now should you know about urea gold to answer this question? Now what is the general or common format that we see whenever we have statement based questions? We see that first we will look at whether statement 1 is right. Then we will look at statement 2 whether it is right. Right? Now if one of them is wrong, we will directly go to either C or D. If both the statements are right, then we will be verifying whether statement 2 is the reason for statement 1. Look at the direction. Don't change the direction. It is not the statement 1 leading to statement 2, but statement 2 leading to statement 1. Now when you look at this particular question, look at the second statement of this particular question. You see that it has added humic acid that quickens the urea action to enhance the nutrient availability. Now see, normal urea, and they are saying urea gold. Now this is direct urea, my dear. Which is going to be quick among these? Which is direct? If I put urea directly, it is going to be quicker. When I have urea gold, that means if I am adding something extra, I am going to slow down the action or quicken the action? I am going to slow down the action. Now why were we talking about liquid urea? Why were we talking about nano urea? Why were we talking about neem coated urea? Do you remember? There was one question which was asked by UPSC with respect to neem coated urea. The fundamental reason for neem coated urea was what? It was resulting in slow diffusion of urea. And the reason for slow diffusion of urea is what? That you see that if the urea is having a fast or active action, what is going to happen is, you see that this would result in pollution. Pollution of soil, pollution of Water. Are you understanding this? And you would also experience something called as the phenomena of biomagnification. Phenomena of biomagnification would be there because of the excessive usage of the synthetic fertilizers, right? So the second statement is wrong. The first statement is right. Now please remember that wherever we talk about organic fertilizers, you please remember, organic fertilizers are more eco-friendly. They have slow diffusion. They have slow diffusion and they are effective with respect to the growth process. They have slow diffusion, they are eco-friendly and they are effective with respect to its activity, right? Now when you look at synthetic, you see that these are more polluting in nature and these have fast action. These have fast action, these are polluting in nature. Remember this classic difference that is existing between organic fertilizers and synthetic fertilizers, right? Next. So answer for the sixth question is what? C. Statement 2 is wrong, statement 1 is right. Next. Seventh question. Bioimaging bank. Now bank is what, my dear? It is storing something. It is storing something. Now what is bioimaging? Images of biotic elements. Antena. Very, very crude way. Let's look at it. It's a repository containing radiology and pathological images linked with clinical information, outcome data, treatment specifics, and additional metadata. Yes. It is telling bioimaging data or bioimaging bank. Now I know that a data bank, I know that anything that is bank is what? It stores. Right? Do I need to know what actually bioimaging data or bioimaging bank here? I don't need to know. I just know that etymologically bank means something it is storing, something is repository of. And in this, it is repository of different images. Look at the second statement. The project uses deep learning to develop a cancer-specific tailored algorithm for early detection. I somewhere believe the statement is consistent. Why statement is consistent in this context? You observe that the statement is consistent in this context because it is talking about an advanced technology called deep learning systems. Deep learning systems. And what is it telling? It is telling early detection of cancer. Now whenever I have technological advancements, I know that the cost might increase, the time would decrease, the efficiency would definitely increase. Whenever I see any technological advancements that happens with respect to anything, for suppose you see there was one question in 2019 with respect to HCNG. That is hydrogen added CNG. Now in that they were telling it is getting cheaper. No. Definitely when I see a technological advancement, I see that there is additional cost which is involved. Ante kadamma urke ever research cheyaru kada, right? Next. So the seventh question answer is C. Eighth question. Nothing much to be discussed in eighth question. Urgam, Drishti 10 Starliner, right? Then Kabra, okay. Now what do you do with such questions? You know, you know. You don't know, you don't know. You can't play inky pinky ponky with these questions. That's very clear, right? Now, but one general thing that I see, etymology. Now, how are you applying etymology? Ugram, Ugra Rupam. Sir, means what? Angry, anger. Antaleva, right? Now, in general, what UPSC does is, if I'm having 3 statements in general, I'm not giving you any theme here. Most of the times it is observed it interchanges. Now, I think if there is one more question where it interchanges. Which question? There is one question here. I think towards the last 90s mein. 90s mein there is one question where again it interchanges, right? So that is one common pattern. Otherwise you know, otherwise you don't know. Now don't try stunts here. Wherever there is etymology, I will teach you. Okay, right? Next, 9th question. I am not adding anything to this 8th question. Please refer to the explanations. Whatever is given, answer A. My interchange and cheppin tarvata kuda, what is the answer? In 3 things, if 2 are interchanged, what should be the answer? 1 only. Yoppa. Ayyo. Right. 9th question. Ninth question. Which of the following are correctly paid? BR Hills. Where is BR Hills? Karnataka. Sariska. Rajasthan. Right. Bhadra. Karnataka. Right. Kamlang. Assam or Arunachal Pradesh? Japan. Assam or Arunachal Pradesh? Arunachal Pradesh. Right. How many tiger reserves so far? We see 55th being added. Totally we had 54. 55th going to be added from Goa. Right. And we see that there are certain states without tiger reserves. There are certain states without tiger reserves, majorly in the northern belt. We see how many tigers are existing. 3167 are the tigers. And we see the count to be around 70% of the world tigers are present in India. Right. And we see how many tiger range countries? 13 tiger range countries. And what is the administrative system with respect to tigers? We see that the administrative system is majorly done by your NTCA, National Tiger Conservation Authority, which is a statutory body established under Wildlife Protection Act. It's a statutory body which is established under Wildlife Protection Act, NTCA. And we also see that this NTCA, with respect to section 38 of WLPA, it classifies something called as critical tiger habitat. It classifies something called as critical tiger habitat, because when you look at this critical habitats, what happens is, we see that there are two kinds of habitats. One is critical tiger habitat and the other one is critical wildlife habitat. When you look at critical tiger habitat, it is under Wildlife Protection Act, whereas when you look at critical wildlife habitat, it is under Forest Rights Act 2006. Please be very clear. Please be very clear. WLPA 1978, whereas FRA 2006. One is critical tiger habitat, the other one is critical wildlife habitat. Okay. Then apart from that, if you want to take down the list of 12 range or 13 range countries, write down. Bangladesh, Bhutan, Cambodia, India, China, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Nepal, Russia, Thailand, and Vietnam. Right? Now, when you look at 3 countries, that is especially with respect to Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam. When you look at this Cambodia, Vietnam, and Laos, we see that the tigers are locally extinct. Although the tigers are locally extinct in these 3 countries, we see that these happen to be part of your 13 range countries. Right? Slowly down the line, we will see questions on snow leopard. Recently, we had snow leopard census coming, and Ladakh dominating the snow leopard census. And we see how many snow leopard range countries are there. There are 12 snow leopard range countries, but there are 13 tiger range countries. So we will discuss about those dimensions as we progress. Okay. So the answer for 9th question is only 2. Only 2. Next, 10th question. Anil, recently seen in news, is related to which of the following? Right? What did you answer? Right? If the first statement was like, it is a name of the person, Anil, maybe spelling marcher and pettese vallem. Right? Now generally I will tell you one small trick here. चाहिए क्या trick? ये नहीं. I would have to look into the letters that are present here. And when I look at it, now look at this: solar power boat, nuclear fuel, cryogenic engine, surface to air missile. Now look at the theme of the options. Look at the theme of the option. Now the first letter of the theme of the option should be there in this. Now what is there? I will show you this trick even when in the question called Bhishma. There is one question called Bhishma. Now that is again, there we see M. That is with respect to medical aspects. Medical aspects. So this is one way that we deal. This is what is again called as etymological trick. I will show you etymological tricks to solve these questions in instances. ठीक है, तो आंसर है इसका nuclear fuel. Now what is the simplest understanding with respect to this nuclear fuel is, we see that there are different ways of enrichment that happens. I don't know, some problem with the image, but if I could do that, it would be really great. It's okay, not an issue. Now when we look at this uranium, we know that uranium as such is a fissile material, and we also know that uranium is a radioactive substance. And one classic characteristic feature of any radioactive substance is what? We see that the isotopes are unstable. The isotopes are unstable. Now here when you look at these isotopes being unstable, what happens is we see majorly uranium-232, uranium-238, uranium-235, different isotopes are present. And out of this what happens is we see uranium-235 happens to be highly fissile in nature. Highly fissile in nature. Now what happens is, in the process of making a fertile radioactive material into fissile, I need to do a process called as enrichment. And what am I enriching this fertile material to make it fissile? I will have to enrich with fissile materials. Now when I am enriching it with fissile material, for me the enrichment source is uranium-235. And depending upon the amount of enrichment, I see what is the variation. If I look at, if it is less than 5%, I call it as low enriched uranium. If I call it as 5 to 20, I call it as high assay but low enriched uranium. But if I have something above 90%, highly enriched uranium, and this is what, for what, my dear? This is basically weapon grade. Weapon grade. And how much do we use for energy generation? Majorly it is 20%. It is of the range of 20% for energy generation. But if you are using it for weapon grade, we will definitely have to transcend towards 60%, 70% of enrichment. Right? Because we see that in any of your nuclear energy sources, there are two purposes for nuclear energy. One is the civilian purpose, the other one is defense purpose or military purpose. For this purpose, we need more than 60% of enrichment. For this purpose, it is maximum of 20% enrichment. Right? In this context of enriching the uranium, in this context of the utility of this uranium, we see there are certain safeguards called as IAEA safeguards. Your IAEA looks into this verification of this process. If the enrichment is going overboard, then IAEA will come into the picture and say, Arey Babu, this is what is for civilian use, this is what is for defense use, don't exceed these. So these IAEA safeguards are what are restricting the amount of enrichment that is done with respect to the uranium. And what is this enrichment process? Fertile to fissile materials, right? Next. So 10th one answer is B. And please understand, uranium alone is not radioactive. You have all of these marked in purple. All of these marked in purple are radioactive. For example, and major ones that we use is what, my dear? Thorium, polonium, radium, neptunium, uranium, different, right? Kada, idoka rap lag undi kada. Right? These are the ones which we know, but there are so many others which are radioactive in nature. And what is the characteristic feature of any radioactive substance? It is, its isotopes are unstable in nature. Unstable. Okay. Next, 11th question. New Tech Plastics Initiative is related to which of the following organizations? It is a factual question. You know. If you don't know, summa leave, don't answer, right? Now it is an initiative of IAEA. It is an initiative of IAEA basically to deal with plastic pollution. Now there are different initiatives. For example, we see Plastic Pact Initiative. Plastic Pact by whom? India. Right? We have one more thing called as One Plastic Initiative. And this One Plastic Initiative by whom? UNEP. One Plastic Initiative by UNEP. Right? And you also have something called as Global Plastic Outlook. Global Plastic Outlook. This Global Plastic Outlook is given by OECD. They are given by OECD. My dear. Next. So New Tech is answer D, none of the above. None of the above. Is India part of this? Is India part of New Tech Plastic Initiative? Ante kada. ఏడ ప్లాస్టిక్ ఉంటే ఆడ ఇండియా ఉంటుంది. Why? When we look at the statistics in the context of Indian plastics, we see how much? Around 4 million metric tons of plastic is generated. Around 4 million metric tons of plastic is generated in the context of India. And we see that plastic waste management rules have been amended in 2021. And when we look at this variations that have been brought in with respect to plastic waste management rules, now if I have to give you the highlights in this context of plastic waste management rules, it changed the conditions of EPRs. What is EPR? Extended Producer Responsibilities. It changed the conditions of EPR, and it also talked about an organization called as PIBOs. It talked about certain institutions called as PIBOs with respect to the extension of EPR. And not only that, with respect to plastic waste management rules, it also brought in, or it also classified plastics into 4 different categories. It classified plastics into 4 different categories. And one of these 4 different categories is compostable plastics. Compostable plastics. It had 4 different types, 4 different categories of plastic, and one of them was, I think the category 4 is compostable plastics. Or usme se they have changed the conditions of EPR. Just remember this much. And you also have to understand in 2016 these rules were changed, and you observe that when you observe this 2016 of PWM, they said that previously it used to be applicable only for urban areas. After 2016, they are applicable even for rural areas. You see that the plastic waste management rules extends equally to both urban as well as rural centers. Right? That is one small thing that you need to understand. And if you have to look at what is the proportion of plastic waste in the context of solid waste, it forms around 8% of your solid waste in India. Plastic waste constitutes around 8% of solid waste in India, right? So that is one small thing that if you have to know about plastics, that can be done. And we know that we have completely banned single-use plastic. Single-use plastic. And what is one common thing or one preventive mechanism is the thickness of the plastic has increased. The thickness of the plastic has increased, and the fundamental reason why we have increased this thickness of the plastic is to reduce the problem of microplastics. To reduce the problem of microplastics, right? Just to avoid that condition of microplastics, we have increased the thickness. Now it is around 75 to 125 to 150. That is what is one common range that we see with respect to the thickness of the plastics, right? Next, 12th question. Kathil Yakshagana Mela. Yakshagana is where? Karnataka, right? Look at those folk dances. Yakshagana is Karnataka. Chow. Chow is where? Where is Chow dance? Huh? It's in 3 different states. One is in West Bengal, one is in Odisha, one is in Jharkhand. Depending upon the variation of these regions, we see the form of the dance and the costume of the dance changes, right? And you know that in India, dances can be classified into 2. One is classical dance, the other one is folk dances. Folk dances are majorly regional in nature, right? Majorly folklores, or majorly they are what, my dear? They are local mythologies. Local mythologies. But whereas when you look at classical dances, we know how many classical dances are there? 12 or 8? 8 classical dances. 8 classical dances are there with respect to India, right? And one small suggestion that I would give you is we have something called as intangible heritage. Intangible heritage. I think there is a list of 12 to 14 items in this. Please look at the details of that. Please look at the details of intangible heritage. For example, we talk about Kalvelia dance, that is part of this. Veda chanting, that is part of this, right? Thateras, that is part of this. So you look at different aspects, or I think roughly it's a list of 12 to 14. Kumbh Mela is part of this. Yoga is part of this. So intangible culture heritage, make a list of it and write 2-3 points which are to be remembered, so that it's easy for you to revise. So the answer for this is all 4. All 4 of them are there. The necessary explanations are there in your handouts. You can check that, right? Next, 13th question. What is the primary focus of momentum investing recently seen in news? Now, buying undervalued stocks, emphasizing long-term growth potential, identifying stocks with consistent dividend payouts, riding the trends of stocks that have exhibited strong recent performance. Now, momentum is what, my dear? There is something in pickup. Yes. Generally, what do? Generally, in the shares, right, we buy at low price and we sell at high price. In contradiction to this, what is done with respect to this momentum investing is, wherever the prices are increasing, they are going to buy. Right? That means like what? Buy high, sell high. This is what? Buy low, sell high. That is what is general concept. We are buying at low price but selling at high price. But in the context of momentum investing, it is what? Buy high, sell high. Right? You have different forms of investing. One is what? Angel investors. Or we have something called as venture capitalists. Right? One is either angel investors or one is with respect to venture capitalists. Or if you have to look at fundraising mechanisms, we see that there are different stages of fundraising mechanism. One is Series 0, Series A, Series B, Series C, Series D, Series E. There are these different kinds of funds which are available for a startup to raise. Right? And we know that India has crossed 100 plus unicorns. 100 plus unicorns in the context of India. What is the definition of unicorn? $1 billion. More than $1 billion capex, you see that is what is called as unicorn. That is what is called as unicorn, right? So one small understanding that you need to know. And what is the difference between angel investing and venture capitalists? There are 2-3 differences. One difference that you see with respect to angel investment as well as this venture capitalist, it is the time of investment, it is the degree of share, and it is the surety of support. On these 3 different bases, we see that your venture capitalist as well as your angel investing varies. Right? You please refer to that. 3 differences. One is the time of investment, whether is it invested at the starting of the company or when the company is running, are we investing? Second dimension, first dimension. The second is degree of shares. What happens is we see that in the context of venture capitalists or angel investors, we see that the amount of share that is demanded from the company will vary. Some will demand large, some will demand comparatively less, and some will invest in a risky proposition, some will comparatively invest in a lesser risky proposition. So that is what is one small difference. Just refer to that, angel investors and venture capitalists, right? So the answer for that is D. Next, 14th question. Which of the following countries launched Einstein probe to observe mysterious transient phenomena in the universe? It is who? Chinese. It is Chinese, right? It is Chinese. Next. 15th question. Consider the following places in news. Belgorod region, where is it? It's around Ukraine. Right? It's around Ukraine. That is it around Ukraine or is it around Russia? It's around Russia. Right? So that is one thing that you need to remember. Belgorod is with respect to Russia. Then next, Agai Palace. Where is it? Agai is in Greece. It's in Greece, right? Next, Okinawa. The name itself, right? That name itself. So you will be able to understand Okinawa, right? Next. I don't know whether that's the correct pronunciation or not, right? Manaki em kavali? Next, the other one is Kinmen Island. Where is Kinmen Island? China or Indonesia only? Kinmen Island is in Taiwan. It's in Taiwan. Kinmen Island is in Taiwan, right? See, one PDF will be uploaded as part of the places in news, right? I tried showing some things in this slide, but one more PDF is going to be uploaded, right? Where will that PDF be uploaded? This is the Telegram channel, okay? Right? उसमें देख लेना. One PDF will be uploaded with respect to places in news. Places in news is one. The other one is with respect to the lakes that have been dying. For example, UPSC has been very keen about asking this. In 2018, there was one question. 2022, there was one question. For example, Lake Pupu. Lake Pupu, right? Or Lake Fagubin. Those are the lake names, right? We'll discuss about those dimensions. I think in this also we have Lake Pupu. So we'll discuss about those dimensions. Okay. Next. 16th question. It is with respect to Henley's passport index. Always remember, passport index में हमारा 80 के ऊपर ही है. Right? We are so good at it. Right? 80 के ऊपर ही. What is this Henley? Henley's passport index, it gives you what is the weight of the passport. Right? Ante kada. So in this, when you look at the status, India is ranked 62 in the list with citizens allowed to travel to 80 countries without a visa. What is our rank, my dear? How much? Our rank is 80th, where you see that you can travel 62 countries without visa. They interchanged. Kada? Tu channa raya manalni. Right? Then second, Syria occupies the bottom spot on the list with access to just 28 countries without a visa. See, people at the bottom, racing to bottom we see, race to bottom. Usme to, how can you forget this fellow? Afghanistan to hai, right? They Malawal feel hota hai. Afghanistan. Then pakkane we have our beloved Pakistan also, right? So Afghanistan is the one which is least, right? Syria has in fact one place more. Afghanistan you can visit only 28. Syria you can visit 29, right? So that is there. Then after that you have Iraq. Iraq 31. Then I told you, Pakistan 34, right? But you have to understand that in some of the indices, Pakistan is doing better than India. Pata hai na wo? Global Hunger Index. Yes, my dear. Right? Who is contributing to Global Hunger Index with respect to India? People in Ashok Nagar, right? If Gautam sir extends the class, you are like, sir, eppudu vadultaru, right? Next, 17th question. So answer for this is only one. Only one. Which was the fastest climber? UAE, obviously. Rent statement wrong annappudu. One has to be right. Next, 17th question. Consider the following with respect to great aspiring innovators in technical textiles. Now please understand this fundamental here. आजकल बहुत चर्चा चल रहा है इसके ऊपर. Recently we had national silk policy in 2020. When you look at this national silk policy in 2020, national silk policy categorically emphasized upon something called as SERI research. SERI research. And it also talked about technical textiles to a larger extent, and especially in that aspect it talked about R&D in silk sector. R&D in silk sector, right? That is one thing that you have to understand. Now apart from this, when you try to understand what is this technical textile meaning, when you observe the applications of this, it is either for electronic applications or it is either for mechanical applications. When you see this technical textile having its electronic applications or mechanical applications, we call it as a technical textile. And what is the fundamental aspect of technical textile? Most of the times we see that these are smart in nature. And what do you mean by smart? Anything that is smart is imbibed with electronic systems. Anything that is smart is imbibed with electronic systems, and mostly we observe these are smart textiles, right? Now you would have heard about something called as wearable electronics. One simplest understanding of wearable electronics is what, my dear? When you wear those shirts that jiggle, it will be there, right? And not only that, your watches, these are what? Wearable electronics. And we see that technical textiles has a lot of application with respect to wearable electronics. Right? So the answer for great is with respect to Option D. I'm not discussing much anything about that. You please refer to your explanations in that. Okay. Next, 18th question. 18th question. Organic LED versus QLED. That is quantum dot LED. Now here when you talk about the basic difference between organic LED and quantum dot LED, look at the statements what they have given. OLED do not have the same perfect blacks and infinite contrast as QLED TVs. Right? Next, OLED TVs are susceptible to burn-in and image retention when the same image is displayed on the screen for an extended period of time. QLED use a layer of tiny semiconductor crystals called quantum dots that emit light. Now the question itself has given you quantum dots. Now what are quantum dots? What are quantum dots? Don't say dots which are quantum. What are quantum dots? Amma quantum. What are quantum dots? You have heard about quantum communications? Something very similar, quantum dots इसमें कुछ सुना है क्या? Now these are nanostructures. These are nanostructures which are conducting in nature. Which are conducting in nature and they have electronic properties. For example, tellurium. For example, tellurium is a classic example for quantum dots. Tellurium is a classic aspect for quantum dots. So here what happens is we see when they are talking about organic LEDs and QLEDs, just write down one line. लिख लो, एक line लिख लो. The OLED using additional organic materials has comparatively better resolution than most of the televisions, because when you look at televisions you have different types, no? LCD is there, LED is there, OLED is there, QDs, quantum dots, right? We see that this to be the dominant with respect to resolution. Sir, then why are we using quantum dots? We see when we look at quantum dots, the fundamental aspect is these are more durable. These are more durable in nature. Your quantum dots are more durable in nature. Now, whenever you get a doubt regarding quantum dots, just remember quantum dots are nanostructures which are conducting, which are electronic in nature. That is one small understanding that you are supposed to have. Next, so answer for this is, your first statement is wrong, so only 2. Next, 19th question. Consider the following statements regarding clemency powers mentioned under Constitution. Right, Bilkis Bano case चल रहा है, तो देख लो. Article 72, Article 161, and in the case of sentence inflicted military code, only the president can grant. I think, hope you know the basics. Now 2-3 things that you are supposed to remember with respect to pardoning power. That we see that pardoning power is not the discretionary power. Pardoning power is not the discretionary power, and pardoning power is subjected to judicial review. Remember this much. Remember this much, because these two are the areas where we have conflict, and we know that the pardoning powers differences between your president and governor. We see that governor cannot pardon a death sentence, and governor cannot pardon any sentence that is regarding the martial court. Right? That is one thing that we are supposed to understand, and other aspect that we have to see is they are not direct discretionaries, but they are based on the what matter? Based on the advice of Council of Ministers, and we see they are subjected to judicial review. Right? So the answer for this is none of them are incorrect, all of them are correct statements. Right? Next, 20th question. Now please refer to this. Wherever we see fuel cells, we have one basic structure called as anode, बीच में कुछ electrolyte, then cathode. right? Anode, electrolyte and cathode. Whatever prefix they are putting, the prefix is something which is related to electrolyte. The prefix most of the times is related to electrolyte. For suppose if they say microbial fuel cells, right? If they are telling polymeric electrolyte. Now here what is one basic generalization that you need to remember with respect to these fuel cells is we see that fuel cells are non-polluting in nature. And whatever kind of current that is derived from your fuel cells, these are majorly direct current. We don't see an alternating current. These are direct current. These are non-polluting in nature. And most of the times, we see water happens to be a outcome or outlet, whatever you want to call it. Remember those basic things that you see fuel cell will have, it is non-polluting and it is majorly driven by direct current. Okay. Then when look at this particular question, it is asking polymer electrolyte membrane. Now look at the first statement. It converts chemical energy to heat energy by oxidizing hydrogen to water. Yes or no? Yennama, what is happening in fuel cells? We see chemical energy is being transformed into electrical energy. Just to generate heat, do I need to set up so much, my dear? No point. Common sense. In any fuel cell, I am seeing chemical energy is being transformed into electrical energy. And based on that, what? My statement 1 is going wrong. If statement 1 is going wrong, immediately switch to option D. Should I even need to know about what is polymeric, what is that polymer, electrolyte, conducting, mediated, whatever it is? Right? Next. 21st question. Zero effect, zero defect scheme. It is launched in 2022 to drive the manufacturing with adoption of zero defect production process without impacting the environment, that is zero effect. Was it launched in 2022? अरे इससे पहले हमारा Honorable Prime Minister कितनी बार refer किया है इसको? Whenever he is talking about make in India, whenever he is talking about make for India, whenever he is talking about local manufacturing sector, they talked about ZED concept, that is zero effect, zero defect. Now in that context, this was launched somewhere in 2016. This was launched somewhere in 2016. It is definitely not launched in 2022. Next, it offers certification for environmentally to 20 performance-based parameters. ठीक है. The scheme does not provide financial assistance. और इंकेंदुको. What is the point? You are telling इतना बात कर रहे हैं इसके बारे में and you are telling no financial assistance. Will somebody be inclined? No. Right? It is the initiative of Ministry of Commerce and Industry. It is the Ministry of MSMEs. Right? It is not with respect to commerce and industry. So answer is only one statement is right. Right? Next. 22nd question. How many of you marked 22nd question as all the three? Raise. There's a specific reason. The question has been framed beautifully, but how many of you marked all the three? How many of you left the question? మీరు మొత్తం పేపరే వదిలేసింటారు. Left the question, ठीक है. How many of you marked none of the above? Raise. Difference है क्या? Right, we had half the class lifting for all three. We had only one hand lifting for none of the above. Answer is what? None of the above. Because it is not Mars, my dear, it is Moon. You look at this, it is NASA's first mobile robotic mission to Moon. The first part is right, but the second part is not right. It will directly analyze the varying depth and temperature inversion of not Mars soil, Moon. It will help in providing valuable data for the manned mission to Red Planet, not Red Planet, the cool satellite, Moon. Right? So answer is none of them are right, my dear. It is majorly the Viper rover is fundamentally whose project it is? NASA. It is NASA's project. It is looking into what? Exploration of the exploration of the lunar surfaces. Right? Next. So answer is D for 22nd. 23rd. How many of them are classified as direct taxes? How many marked all 6? Acha, what is the answer for this? 4, 5, 3? Huh? 3. How many marked 4? How many marked 3? How many marked 5? How many marked none of the above? Option hai nahi usme. Right? Yeah. Answer is 4. Direct taxes? Yes, sir. Babu, World Cup gelvaledhu inka. I know, I understand under 19 World Cup is going on. Right? In this, what is the indirect tax that is existing? Excise. Excise is indirect. Customs, indirect. Value added, indirect. Baki ka to direct. Right? All these are direct taxes. From where, security transaction tax, is it direct or indirect? Direct tax. Security transaction tax is direct tax. MAT, minimum alternative tax. Direct or indirect? Direct tax. It's a form of corporate tax. It's a form of corporate tax. Your MAT is a direct tax. Remember that. Right? Next. So answer for 23 is B. Next, 24th question. How many of you ever thought about something like this? On Republic Day, one thing used to be such that we used to sit, we used to watch. But now here when you look at this, when you used to sit and watch, what do you observe here? We see that there are different tableaux which is moving. Now what do you understand in this? Now you see that which ministry is going to be responsible for this? Ministry of Defense. Ministry of Defense is going to be responsible. Right? So it is not Ministry of Home Affairs. Then apart from that, expert committee, prominent people, yes. That second statement is right. No other vehicle than tractor and trailer can be used for fabrication of tableau. Cycle me the over. Right? You see that the tractor or trailer, if they are used for putting your tableau, then your Ministry of Defense sponsors. If you want to use some exotic vehicle, right, then you will have to have your own sponsor. That's the only difference. Right? You can even go on your motorbike. RX 100 eskoni ellachu. Not an issue. But you will have to have your own sponsor for that. But if it is tractor or trailer, then who is going to be the sponsor? Ministry of Defense. Indians being Indians. You want everything free of cost. Ante kada. So answer is what? Only two statements. Right? Now tell me, is it purely restricted to 10 people? Yes. If you want some extra, then you will have to go to the committee and say, Babu, we need some extra people. If committee says, theek hai, take. You can't take all of your state onto your tableau. Right? Now did you observe the tableau naming? Now if you have your tableau, in the front it is written in Hindi. At the back it is written in English. On the sides it is written with regional languages. It is a rule. It is a rule. हम कभी observe ही नहीं करते यार, क्या करें? Recently we had tableau issue. चल रहा था, controversy चल रहा था. So इसके बारे में तो question पूछा. तो we see front Hindi, back English, sides regional language. Right? I can't change this order. No sir, I want my regional language in the front. Pakkaki laduko antaru. Antaku minchi em ledhu. Right? So answer is 2 alone. Next, 25th question. 25th question is with respect to Czech Republic. Now most of you wondered why this country is in news. Yes? How many of you have heard about this person called Panun? Recently we talked about killing this person, Panun, Nikhil Gupta. Dekho hoga controversy, Khalistan controversy, they are taking their hideouts. And Panun was taking asylum in Czech Republic. And Czech Republic said that it is not legal on the side of India to take such a decision. Andukadi, right? And I think just 4 days back or 5 days back, we had this vibrant Gujarat. We had that investment. There we see that India and Czech Republic had signed a number of agreements with respect to startups. Number of agreements with respect to startups as well as circular economy, right? So the answer for this is what? 4, only 4, right? You please look into that, which all 4. Is it visible? Right? So you refer to that, which all 4 are there. Which all 4 will be there? Germany, Poland, Austria and Slovakia. Germany, Poland, Austria and Slovakia. Right? Next. 26th question. Now when you look at this 26th question, Bharat Stage Emission Standards. Now we see something called as BS standards. Now when you talk about this BS standards, we see that we have inspired this from European standards. We have inspired this from European standards, that is one. The second aspect that you see with respect to this BS standards is we see that we are transitioning from 1 to 6 and we have transitioned directly from 4 to 6. And what is one common thing you have to understand is it focuses on reduction, not elimination. Just remember this line, you will be able to answer any question on BS standards. BS standards focuses on reduction, it doesn't focus on elimination. It focuses on reduction, it doesn't focus on elimination, right? It focuses on reduction on sulfur levels. It focuses on reduction on particulate matter. It focuses on reduction on nitrous oxides, or it focuses on reduction in carbon monoxides, or it doesn't talk about the elimination of any of these gases altogether. Be very clear. Now here you have to understand this BS standards is with respect to engine, and also it is with respect to fuel. Both of these dimensions are there. It is with respect to engine as well as fuel, right? So that is one common thing that you are supposed to understand. Okay. So the answer for 26th question is all three. All three are correct statements. Okay. Read your corresponding explanations. I don't need to go further. Next, 27th question. Where is your Maitan? It's with respect to Damodar or Barakar River? Barakar River, right? Barakar River, where is it located? Jharkhand. Located in Jharkhand, Barakar River. Then Theen Dam. It is with respect to Ravi River. Where? Punjab. Then Bakra Nangal. Sutlej. From where Bhagirathi came, my dear? Sutlej. Which place? Borders of Punjab and Himachal. Borders of Punjab and Himachal. And the last one is Salal Dam. Salal, Dulhasti, all of these are where? Chenab, right? Salal Dam where? Jammu and Kashmir. So how many are correct in this? Only one. Right? Next, 28th question. That is with respect to NCAP. Now in this I will just have to give you one small clarification. Rest others you can read. It says that there are around 132 non-attainment cities. Now here you have to have a clarification. What is the criteria to decide a particular city is non-attainment city? They say that it is not meant for NCAP, is not meant for all the cities. It is only meant for those cities which are non-attainment cities. Now what is this non-attainment city? If the air quality index of the city is not maintained for 5 years. If the air quality index of the city is not maintained for 5 years under control, you call such a city as non-attainment city. Be very clear with that. That because we see that we have something called as National Air Quality Index. And whenever we are not able to maintain this air quality for 5 years, I call that as non-attainment, and all the conditions of NCAP are applicable to this. All the conditions of NCAP are applicable to non-attainment cities. And majorly you see that NCAP focuses on PM 2.5 and PM 10. PM 2.5 and PM 10. Right? So that is what is one thing that you're supposed to understand. Next. 28th question, 29th. So 28th answer is 1. 1 only. Next. 29th question. Which of the following organizations releases the report Global Risk Report? World Economic Forum. Right? Regarding World Bank wala I have given. Right? Regarding IMF I have given. Regarding WTO I have given. Right? And I think this PDF, this also will have regarding World Economic Forum and some miscellaneous. Now there is one particular report which is being given by WWF, that is World Wildlife Fund, Living Planets report. Living Planet report is given by, or Living Planet Outlook is given by World Wildlife Fund, WWF, right? Baki ka to you can refer from this, right? Because anyway this is going to be shared, right? Nanda em cheskuntaru cheskoni mee ishtam. You want to add, you want to subtract, whatever you want to do, you can do with that. Okay. Living Planets report is given by WWF. Okay. Next, 30th question. Which of the following tiger reserves has been designated as India's first dark sky park? Huh? Pench, where is it? Huh? Ladakh. Ma ur madi. Pench, why did you take it to Ladakh? Huh? Are you from Jammu and Kashmir? Horrible, my dear. No, Pench is there. Madhya Pradesh. The other one is what? Sariska. Where is Sariska? Rajasthan. Where is Rajaji? Uttarakhand. Where is Satpura? Maharashtra or Madhya Pradesh? Very good. Ekkadamma? Very good. Maharashtra, na? Madhya Pradesh. Now just understand this dark sky concept. Now those who told Ladakh, that is dark sky reserve. Right? That is dark sky reserve. Right? That is where? Dark sky reserve, Hanle, Ladakh. And that was the project of whom? That was the project of Department of Science and Technology along with Indian Institute of Astrophysics. Indian Institute of Astrophysics along with the DST, they had created something called as Dark Sky Reserve in Ladakh. That was last year, 2022. Now what do you mean by dark sky? It simply means that I am cutting all the artificial light. Whenever I shield the region from artificial light, what do I see? I see the natural astronomical processes which are happening. And that means what? I am ensuring that this region is devoid of what? This region is devoid of light pollution. There is no light pollution in this. When a particular region is devoid of the light pollution, I call it as a dark sky. And on this, under this, what is the advantage? Under this, I can observe the natural phenomena which is happening. Right? So that is what is one thing that you are supposed to understand. Right? So answer is C. The next 31st question. It is a question on LiDAR. It is used to generate precise three-dimensional shape of the earth and its surface. Characteristic features. It calculates how long it takes. अरे इसमें तो तीन है यार, confuse मत हो. Whenever you look at these ranging techniques, these are what are called as ranging techniques. Now what do you mean by ranging techniques? To analyze what is the distance between the objects. To analyze what is the distance between the objects, to analyze what is the depth, I have ranging techniques. One is with respect to radar, where I use radio waves. The other one is with respect to sonar, where I use sound waves. The other one is with respect to LiDAR, where I use light. Don't be confused. One is radar with respect to radio waves, one is sonar with respect to sound waves, the other one is LiDAR with respect to light. Depending upon what is the usage or depending upon what is the source that is being used, that is what is the ranging technology. Right? And whenever we are supplying this, we supply it in a pulsating form. We don't give a linear input, we give a pulsating form, so that it is easy for me to detect. Now what is happening when I supply or when I provide this pulsating form, it goes and hits a particular object and it is reflected. And the time that is taken for its reflection, the amount of attenuation that is happening, the amount of intensity that is being received, I am able to calculate the distance. That is what is the basic technology with respect to LiDAR. So, isme to, you see the second statement to be wrong. Why? Not sound waves, it is light waves. Okay? So, answer is what? C. Next. Saqqara, recently seen in news, is located in which of the following countries? Egypt. Egypt. It's a kind of necropolis. What is necropolis? It's a place of burial. It's a place of burials. It's a mound of burials. That is what is seen to be with respect to necropolis. Right? And that means we see that in this context of this Saqqara, they had found some newer forms of mummies. Mummies. Right? Not normal mummy. Mummy. That mummy. Right? So option is what? D. Saqqara. Next. 33rd. Arrange the following countries from north to south. Africa వచ్చేసింది చూసారా? Because it is African civil services now. North to south, it is what? This is the northernmost. Then Gabon, then Zambia. Right? Why these places? Any specific reason? Coup. Right? Why Zambia? There's a lot of tussle that is going on between China, Russia, US with respect to copper mining. Copper mining. Right? Zambia is known for copper reserves. Okay? Right? So this is one dimension. So answer is what? A. Answer is A. Next, 34th question. You know the 34th question, that is GEAC. When I talk about GEAC, it is what? It is a statutory body. It is a statutory body. GEAC is a statutory body established under what, my dear? Environmental Protection Act. And its advice or its permission is mandatory for genetically modified crops. Its permission is mandatory for genetically modified crops. And who is the chairperson of GEAC? The secretary. The secretary or the additional secretary is the chairperson of GEAC. Right? We had a question of GEAC in 2016. Right? It is chaired by the additional secretary of Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and co-chaired by the secretary of Department of Biotech. Right? So you understand that. Okay. So the answer for 34th question is C. C. It is established under BDA or Environmental Protection Act. Environmental Protection Act. Right? Next, 35th question. Now remember one thing, my dear. आजकल बहुत इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट्स चल रहा है. When we look at this road constructions, we see different technologies are existing. One is with respect to hot mix, the other one is cold mix, the other one is slag, the other one is plastic. Now what do we observe is in hot mix, it is normal your Thar roads. Thar roads is seen with respect to your hot mix, and these are energy intensive. I need excessive amount of energy to have hot mix. And I also see that hot mix are highly polluting in nature. Hot mix is a technique where I am using large temperatures for which I need large energy, and for which I see that it is polluting in nature. Now when I look at cold mix, I see that I don't need much of energy for cold mix because I am not having temperature treatments, and I also see that these are non-polluting in nature. These are non-polluting in nature. When I look at slag, slag is what, my dear? It is nothing but waste of something. Waste of something. So I see that this slag fundamentally has large durability. It has large durability. And not only that it has large durability, it is comparatively cheaper because I am using what? waste substances. I'm using waste substances. Now here, when you look at this, all of these statements which were given are right. Right? We also see a similar steel slag road being built by BRO in India-China border. In India-China border in Arunachal Pradesh, we see steel slag road being built. By whom? BRO. BRO is under which ministry? Ministry of Defense or Home Affairs? Pakka na? Very good. Next, 36th. 36th answer is D. I'm not explaining anything there. Nothing to learn, right? It is D. 37. Certain states are known for this. One is Rajasthan, Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh. These three states are definitely known for pulses. And in the context of pulses, we see that India is the largest exporter, consumer, importer, right? We are the largest producers also. Now in this context, what is happening is we see that we are majorly import dependent in the context of pulses, although we are producing large. Although we are producing large amounts of pulses, we are import dependent, right? Now when we look at this, we have roughly around 6 to 7 varieties of pulses which are produced, and the maximum proportion that we see with respect to these pulses is with respect to gram. With respect to gram, around 40%. Around 40%. Now the reason why we see this particular question is we see the lentils. The lentil production has reached its all-time maximum this year. The lentils production has reached its all-time maximum this year. That was the reason why we have talked about pulses. And what is the agricultural significance of pulses? We see that these are leguminous plants. The significance of pulses is these are leguminous plants, and these are, as these are leguminous plants, these are known for nitrogen fixation, right? Next. So answer for 37th question is B alone, 2. Next, 38th question. Boundaries with South Africa. Boundaries with South Africa, what is the way? One is Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe and Mozambique. So totally how many? 4. Next, 39th question. Cheetah, Guldar, Kumbir. Cheetah cannot be fish. Kada? Cheetah cannot be butterfly. Itna to pakka. Right? Either it should be naval ship or missile. You decide. It is naval ship. Okay, they were decommissioned recently after 40 years of their service. They were decommissioned, so these are naval ships. Next, 40th question. Look at 40th question. How many of you tried to answer 40th question? What is the answer? B. Why? In electronics we study about gates. NOR gate, AND gate. Indulo enti? C, not. Right? Inkokati enti? Some gate. Em gate? Something regarding your electronics and computing. So I think we would have tried to guess this. Now one simple understanding in quantum computing versus traditional computing systems. When you look at traditional computing systems, this functions on binary. This functions on quantum systems. These are based on the principles of physics. These are based on the principles of maths. Right? Because here we see binary systems 1 and 0. Digital systems, these are based on physics. And we see, here we see either it is 1 or 0. Here we see even intermediate levels. We can have even intermediate state which can exist with respect to your quantum. The intermediate state can also exist with respect to your quantum, but whereas in traditional we see either it is 1 or 0, nothing else, right? And we see this functions on law of superposition. Law of superposition, and it also functions on something called as law of entanglement. Entanglement. What do you mean by entanglement? Now for suppose say 1, 1.1, 1.2. Now if I try to change something here, whole of the system is locked. Whole of the system is locked. Now this law of entanglement is what is ensuring a strong encryption, and this strong encryption ensures what? Security. India has quantum computing mission. India has quantum computing mission, right? Next. 41st. I think everybody knows this. What is the 41st one? Different names, right? Different names, different places, right? Pongal, Makar Sankranti, Makar Vilakku, Makara Sankramana, right? Bihu, Rogali Bihu, right? So you have different kinds of names given to the same festival, right? And all of these are celebrated where? In the month of January, right? Basically, what is happening after this? Geographical phenomena. What is happening? Sun. What is happening to sun? Makes a reverse journey towards equator or Tropic of Cancer? Sorry, my dear. Right? Telikunda adigesan. I'm sorry. Right? You decide. Tropic of Cancer. Me istam. Pettandi. Teeskelli pettandi. 42nd question. Consider the following statements regarding Green Fuel Alliance India. 41st, all four, my dear. Option D. Right? Green Fuel Alliance India. Now, one common observation is in most of the green technologies, either we have collaboration with US, Germany, Denmark, or Netherlands. Remember this generalization, that when we look at any of these green technologies, we see we have it, or we have some sort of connection with US, Germany, Denmark, and Netherlands, majorly, right? Whenever it is coming to education dimension, we majorly have relation with Nordic countries. Whenever we have some relation with education and some aspects of education, we see that we have a relation with Nordic countries. One generalization. This is with respect to green technologies. Green technologies, right? So answer for 42nd one is C. Both of them are correct, right? Next, 43rd. Please by hand this. Anni gurtu pettukondi enti. Different exercises, right? But definitely remember Maldives. Right? Definitely remember Maldives. Definitely remember Bangladesh. Right? Israel and Oman. ये चार को remember. Definitely remember these four. What all I told you? Israel you remember, Maldives, Oman and Bangladesh. Rest your wish. करना है तो कर लो, नहीं तो नहीं. Right? It's up to you. ठीक है. The answer for this 43rd question is Thailand. Thailand. Right? Thailand. Next. Consider the following statements regarding instrument landing system. It guides pilots along both horizontal and vertical axis, aiding them in maintaining the correct approach path. Statement 2, it is a ground-based radio navigation system that provides pilots with accurate information about their aircraft position and alignment. What is the answer? C. Why C, my dear? A. Why? Etymology again. What is the etymology here? Instrument landing system. That which is ensuring safe landing. Please be very clear with that, right? In current affairs, trust me, most of the times your etymology comes to your hand. I think I've kept reiterating that particular technique here, because otherwise it's humanly impossible for us to remember every aspect of this material, right? Now, although we do these 100 questions upfront, although we remember, although we make notes, in exam hall these will appear new. That's what happens. Why? 1 only, 2 only laga ఇంకేదన్నా చేసాడు అనుకో, what will happen? అంతే, ఇంకేం లేదు, right? Next, 45th question. Option A, no much of discussion there. Vijay Raghavan committee, he was the principal scientific advisor. He was the principal scientific advisor. So that is with respect to DRDO. ठीक है. Next, 46. बताओ यार, एटिमोलॉजी क्या है इसमें? हाँ, E, साक्षी. That means what is it doing? हाँ, साक्षी, మీ మనస్సాక్షి. What is sakshi? Evidence. Evidence means it has to monitor, right? ఎక్కడ పొలిటీషియన్స్ ఉండాలో అక్కడ మానిటరింగ్ ఉండాలా? ఎందుకు? స్వాహ, right? So to avoid that, what? MP lads. In MP lads, because when you look at Swamitva scheme is more about your GIS systems. That is more of land surveying. That is more of land surveying, or that is more of geographical information systems that are followed with respect to Swamitva. Then Atal Bhujal, groundwater management. And is it with respect to all the states or only water stressed regions? It is majorly with respect to water stressed regions. It is not with all the states. Atal Bhujal Yojana, right? Then MP lands, you know that you have certain fund which is non-lapsable in nature and which is for 5 years. And you also see that it is at the discretion of whom? It is at the discretion of the corresponding member of parliament. It is present for both the members of parliament of Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha. For Lok Sabha, it is with respect to that person's individual constituency. With respect to Rajya Sabha, that person can spend this anywhere as part of India. And you see that they have certain special allocations with respect to the scheduled caste, disabled, scheduled tribe, for their betterment or for their welfare. And not only that, you also see that 10% of the projects which are done as part of MP lands are fundamentally reviewed by whom? The district magistrates. Right? There was a question on this basis in 2020. Okay, so that is what is one thing. Next, Asafilla, Longju, Namkachu. You should be able to tell that. China, right? Look at the names. Don't say, sir, Bhutan is also there, Myanmar is also there. Now here, what is the border thing that we know? We know that the eastern sector, we have which line? McMahon line. And in the western sector, we have two. One is McDonald, the other one is Johnson. We see that Johnson line is accepted by India, McDonald line is accepted by China. Basically, it is with respect to demarcation of Aksai Chin region. In one, Aksai Chin region is put as part of Kashmir. In other, the Aksai Chin region is excluded as part of Kashmir. Right? That one which is including Aksai Chin region is what is here? Johnson line. Johnson line. That which is not including Aksai Chin region is what is McDonald line, and which is accepted by China. Ante kadamma, they have more territory, so they will definitely accept that. Right? If Aksai Chin region is included within India, then comparatively China will have lesser territories. Right? So that is one understanding here. So answer for this is A. Next, 48. 48, it is again A. Please refer your explanations, nothing much there. Okay. Next, 49. How many of you tried answering 49? If you were following news, you could have answered. Arey dekha hoga. One person went and hit or slapped pilot. Then I was looking into why. The problem was that person was newly married. He was on his honeymoon trip to Goa. ये तो 13 hours delay. And what happens? All the plan was upset. So the frustration came out in this form and went and hit. Right? They talked about unruly behavior. They have classified persons of unruly behavior into 3 categories as part of this civil aviation requirements. Right? But one thing is very common among all these 3 categories is for 30 days they can't travel. Then after that, depending upon which category they belong, they have the respective penalties. Right? Some people are lifetime banned, some people are banned for 3 years or 60 days. Right? కొంచెం ఓపిక పట్టింటే అయిపోయేది ఉద్దు ఫెలో కదా. ఇప్పుడు ఎక్కడున్నాడా? అది జరగలేదు, ఇది జరగలేదు, ఇప్పుడు ఏడున్నాడు? ఈజ్ ఇన్ జైల్ బిచారా. రైట్? I think he was categorized as the 3rd category of unruly behavior. I have seen them charging on the crew, but I have never seen somebody charging on pilot. That was the reason why I was so inquisitive. And next day there was a news saying that newly married bichara. Right? Okay, next. 50th question. All of the above. Dekh lena. You see Kolam tribe even in AP. Kolam tribe being present even in AP. Kolam tribe happens to be one of the PVTGs. Kolam tribe happens to be one of the PVTGs. Right? How many PVTGs? 75 PVTGs. 75 PVTGs. Which state has the highest number of PVTGs? Odisha, followed by Andhra. Odisha has the highest number, followed by Andhra. Right? Because recently we had come up with PVTG mission. Right? PVTG mission or PM Ajay also we came up with. Right? Or Janman Yojana. All of these are something which are related to PVTGs. Right? Next. Answer is all 4. All 4 of them. Next, 51st. Stamp duty is, in this context, just see. Now, whenever you look at this concept of stamp duty, huh? 49, all 4. All 4, right? I did not explain much, my dear, nothing to explain. Right? Then I will have to become little unruly there. Nothing else. Right? Stamp duty, it is what? You see that stamp duty is present with respect to the union list, with respect to state list, as well as concurrent list. Whichever are not there here are put in concurrent list. Whichever are not there in your union list as well as state list are included under concurrent list. So we see something related to stamp duties are present in all the 3 lists. Right? That is one thing that you need to know. Now, isme dekh lo that Indian Stamp Bill intends to replace the Indian Stamp Act 1899. Yes, stamp duties are levied by central government, but within the states are collected and appropriated in terms of provision of Article 268. Is it direct tax or indirect tax? How many say it is direct tax? Immediately go out of my class. How is it direct, my dear? Stamp duty is indirect tax. Don't you think so? There is a debate with respect to GST. With respect to stamp duty, if it was not indirect tax, why would somebody talk about stamp duty at all when GST was moving into the regime? I'd be very clear. Stamp duty is indirect tax, my dear. My land basic aspects don't make a mistake. Right? Next, 52nd question. Just give me half an hour more, I'll finish. This is guaranteed, right? Don't worry. Now just understand certain dimensions here. In 2016, we had somebody called as Shailesh Nayak committee that was appointed. Now, when this committee, Shailesh Nayak committee was appointed, it talked about certain provisions with respect to CRZs. Now, when you look at these provisions of coastal regulatory zones, we see that these are established under Environmental Protection Act 1986. They are established under Environmental Protection Act 1986. And we see that there are 4 categories which are divided. Now, these 4 categories are divided on the basis of tidal zones, low tide as well as high tide. Low tide as well as high tide. And what is the range? The range is from 200 to 500 meters. 200 to 500 meters is what is the range. Now here, now for suppose if you look at this is the water body, you observe from high tidal range it is 50 meters, which is non-development zones. NDZs are what? Non-developmental zones. Now here what happens is, I told you there are 4 different kinds. One is CRZ1. Now when you look at the CRZ1, what you observe is CRZ1 is especially with respect to eco-sensitive areas. Eco-sensitive areas as well as intertidal areas. Intertidal areas means what? Between your low tide as well as high tide regions. CRZ1. CRZ2 is especially with respect to urban centers, especially with respect to areas of development or urban centers. Urban centers which are very, very close with respect to your high tidal and low tidal zones. Now when you look at CRZ3, you see that in CRZ3 they had gone for 2 kinds of classification. They said one with a density of 2161, the other one with a density less than 2161. Now when you look at this density of 2161 and less than 2161, they said that when you talk about 2161 density, it said that the thing is going to be restricted with respect to, 2161 density, it is going to be restricted with respect to 50 meters. And whereas less than 2161, it is going to be restricted up to 200 meters. That means, commonsensically, we see that wherever I have more population density, I need to have comparatively lesser non-developmental zones because I need more land. That is what is the logic here. When I look at the population density less than 2161, it is saying that I can have more non-developmental zones because I need less land. Because why I need less land? Because I have comparatively lower population. Logic. And when you look at CRZ4, it is with respect to aquatic systems. Till CRZ3, these are what, my dear? Land systems. CRZ4 is aquatic systems. Now apart from this, you also understand certain things here with respect to the coastal aspects. Now when you look at coastal aspects, we see that different layers of administration exist in the context of coastal aspects. Now when you look at these different layers of administration in the context of coastal aspects, those which are very, very close to the boundary, those are what are called as internal waters. And from this boundary till 12 nautical miles, these are what are called as territorial waters. Territorial waters. And from the boundary till 22 nautical miles, till 22 nautical miles, this is what is called as contiguous region. Contiguous region. And from this till 200 nautical miles, it is what is called as EEZs, exclusive economic zones, EEZs. And away or above 200 nautical miles, these are what are called as high seas. 2022 we had a question on this. 2022 we had a question on this. One is with respect to internal waters which are with respect to the closed ones, and these internal waters are in the ambit of the coastal states. They are managed by somebody called as State Marine Police Force. The territorial waters are completely managed by your Central Marine Police Force as well as the Indian Coast Guard. You see that your contiguous region is majorly managed by your Indian Coast Guard. When you look at your EEZs, they are managed by Indian Coast Guard as well as the Indian Navy. And high seas are always managed by Indian Navy. Indian Navy. Remember, with respect to the administration and also with respect to the demarcation, right? So that is one understanding with respect to your coastal aspects, right? With respect to CRZ, please understand, it is to restrict the development along the coastal regions. That is what is one thing that you are supposed to understand. It is to restrict the development along the coastal regions is what is one classification. Okay. Next. 53rd question. Now the answer for 52nd is 2 statements are incorrect. Right? 2 statements are incorrect. That means when you look at that, you see, right? Then 53rd, when you look at 53rd question, the recent amendment rules. Now in this, there is one provision that you need to remember with respect to this electricity rules. Now just remember this electricity rules which are given recently. It has gone for decentralization. It has gone for decentralization of regulations It has gone for decentralization of access, decentralization of storage systems, regulators or regulations over electricity boards, or with respect to the storage systems, or with respect to the access. Now here they use one term called as open access. Open access. Now when you talk about open access, previously what used to happen is, for suppose say if there is one consumer, and you see that this consumer was supposed to take power only from one DISCOM. But now when they brought in this condition of open access in the context of this amendment rules and amendment bill, what do you mean by this open access is this same consumer can get the power from multiple DISCOMs. Multiple DISCOMs. And when you observe this multiple DISCOMs from whom this consumer can access the power, this number of DISCOMs are going to be regulated by whom? The central government. Please understand this. Open access means what? You can access it openly from wherever you want. From wherever you want, and you don't have any restrictions upon accessing it only from one individual, but you can access it from multiple aspects or multiple operators. Now what is going to happen, my dear? You would see that open access will increase competition. Open access will increase competition, right? So this is one aspect that you need to know. Rest other things you can just refer to your explanations, right? So 53rd answer is C. Answer is C. Next, 54th. Now what is 54th? Now why 54th is very important this year? You see that in the last 5 years the subsidy bill has seen to be the least this year. The subsidy bill happens to be the least, and when you look at the distribution of the subsidy, the mnemonic is FOFI-FU. FOFI-FU. What is FOFI-FU? FO-FI-FU. Highest is with respect to food, then next is fertilizers, then next is fuel. Highest is with respect to food, the next is one is with respect to fertilizer, the next one is with respect to fuels. FO-FI-FU. Okay. So the answer is C, because nutrient based subsidies, you see that nutrient based subsidies are majorly with respect to non-urea subsidies. Remember that nutrient based subsidies are non-urea subsidies. That is one small thing that you need to understand, right? Next, 55th question. 55th question. Which of the following are the borders of Iraq? All of them. All of them. Jordan, Turkey, Israel, Saudi, Kuwait, Syria. What is the aspect of Jordan? We see that Jordan is landlocked. Jordan is landlocked, and it doesn't have any boundary with Mediterranean Sea. UPSC keeps playing with Jordan. That UPSC says which of the following are the bordering countries of Mediterranean, and definitely you will have Jordan in that. And you see that Jordan is a landlocked country, you don't have any opening with respect to Mediterranean Sea, right? Is it clear? So the answer for 55th is all of them. Next, 56th. Now when you look at 56th, Yemma. Only 5. Acha, only 5. हाँ ठीक है. Only 5 maximum. लिख लो यार. Not all, right? ये हो रहा है मंदे. Right? Only 5. Not all. ठीक है. 56th. Kannada system. Kannada system is for what? Water supply. Water supply. It is with respect to water supply. No much explanations there. Okay. Then next, USOF. Now when you talk about this Universal Service Obligation Fund, you see that this particular fund is, there is a special levy that is put for getting funds with respect to this. Now when you look at the special levy on which they are levied, there is something called as AGR. What is AGR? Aggregate Gross revenue, AGR. Now that is, when you talk about this AGR, so adjusted gross revenue, when you talk about this AGR, what is this AGR? Just understand this, because from last 3-4 years there has been controversy that has been going on with respect to your telecom operators and your Department of Telecommunication on this AGR. When you look at this AGR, they are saying adjusted gross revenue. Now that means we see that the gross revenue is with respect to the operators. That means they are getting this revenue by giving the necessary telecom services, right? And not only the telecom services, but also non-telecom services. You see that any telecommunication company will give, one is telecom services as well as non-telecom, or spectrum based services as well as non-spectrum based services. Now that is what is the source of your gross revenue. When you subtract the fees that is paid for the spectrum from this gross revenue, that is what is called as adjusted gross revenue. Adjusted gross revenue. But the problem with this consideration is, the government was considering this to be more from the side of the operators. Now when this is more, don't you think this will be more? When this is more, they are supposed to pay more or not? Definitely yes, because when I say 1% of 100 and 1% of 1000, don't you think it is different? That is what was happening with respect to this, and they had certain negotiations which were going on with respect to reconsideration of AGR. And we see this levy on this AGRs is what is directly pushed to USOF. And when you look at this USOF, this happens to be the funding mechanism for what, my dear? BharatNet project. BharatNet project. What is this BharatNet project? Optical fibers being put in all the villages, right? So that is with respect to 57th question. 57th question, answer is C. 58th is again with respect to, answer is B. Answer is B. That is by ISRO. Okay. Then 59th, Chandaka Dampara Wildlife Sanctuary. Odisha. Right? Chandilas, Chandipur, Chandaka. Where? Odisha. Right? Next, 60th. Only 3. When you look at this Jatara Deol temple, it is in West Bengal, it is not in Odisha. Jatara Deol temple is not in Odisha, it is in West Bengal, but otherwise it is only 3. Next, 61st, it is D. Soligas and Yaravas are tribes belonging to Kaveri region. 61D. 62. Kerala. Now what is the speciality of graphene? You see that it is layered structure. It is linear structure with hexagonal arrangement. And you also see this is the most conductive material. This is the most strongest. Right? This is the strongest, this is the most conductive, and it is impermeable to gases. It is impermeable to gases. Right? The speciality of graphene, it is a layered structure. What is the parent element of graphene? Carbon. Carbon. Right? Good. Next. 62nd answer is D. 63rd. 63rd. My dear, they are asking about what? Correct statements. One is fine, 2018 first edition. In the 6th edition, archery, athletics, badminton and squash were introduced. That's fine. Look at third statement. Kabaddi, the state sport of Tamil Nadu, is being introduced as demo sport. What is the state sport of Tamil Nadu? Silambam. What is Silambam, my dear? Mana daggara karra saam untada. That is Silambam. Right? You see different regional sports. For example, Silambam is with respect to Tamil Nadu. Kalari Payattu, Kerala. Malkamba, మీ ఇష్టం. Malkamba is Madhya Pradesh. Karrasamu, AP and Telangana. Right? All of these are somewhere related to your regional sports. Your regional sports. In Malkamba also, you would have seen, no? The people will climb on some pole like this. ఇలా ఒక పోల్ ఉంటుంది, దాని మీద ఎగిరి అలా ఇలా తిరుగుతుంటారు. Now don't expect me to climb that and show you. It's a problem. Right? It's already late. I can't show my talent now. Right? Next. So 63rd answer is only 2. Next, 64th. Fundamentally, these are all the different styles of Nagara. I already told you, look into the wildlife sanctuaries, tiger reserves, national parks of Northeast. Right? What do you remember? You remember the state and the corresponding wildlife sanctuary, wherever it is. When you look at the variation, this is how the variation looks. Right? This is how the variation looks. One is Latina. Right? Here Latina is also. Right? What is the variation that you see here majorly? It is the layered structures. These two are composite form of this. That's it. These two are composite forms of that. Right? And you also have one more. That is what, my dear? Vallavi style. When you look at Vallavi style, the things are relatively smaller. The things are relatively smaller, but whereas Latina, Shekari, Bhumija, all these are comparatively taller. Right? Comparatively taller. That is what is one small difference that you are supposed to see. And anyway, you know what is the difference between Nagara and Dravidiya style. Should I tell you? Pata hai na? In which we have the concept of Dwarapalakas? Dravida or Nagara? Dravida. Right? In which we have the temple pond? Dravida. Right? Pradakshinapada. Both. Garbhagriha is comparatively smaller structure in Dravida. In Nagara style, it is the tallest. Right? Gopuram. Dravida. Right? Shikara. Nagara. Right? Please be very clear. Nagara was dominant in the north, Dravidian in south. The culmination of Nagara happened with respect to Gupta. The culmination of Dravida happened with respect to Chola. Right? Next. 65th. It is with respect to what, my dear, we just discussed. Slim. Japan. Both the statements are right. I am not discussing much. 66th. When you look at any of your missiles or launching vehicles, we see different speed variations. The reference period is sonic speed. And when we talk about sonic speeds, these are traveling at the speed of sound. And we call sonic speeds as 1 Mach. Anything that is less than 1 Mach, these are subsonic. Anything that is transitioning from 0.7 to 1 Mach, these are transonic. Anything above 1 Mach but below 5 Mach, these are supersonic. Anything above 5 Mach is hypersonic. Hypersonic. Remember that, right? It is all with respect to your missile system, the speed of it. And the reference point is speed of sound. And we see that they are talking about cruise missile and ballistic. We see that in the context of ballistic, the shape is trajectory like this. Right? And what do we see? We see that it also has a travel of exo-atmosphere. That means it is going outside the atmosphere and coming back to the target. But whereas when we look at the cruise, we see that it is within the atmosphere. It is within the atmosphere It is more of a guided missile. It is more of a guided missile, right? One common difference that you see with respect to your cruise as well as ballistic. Both of these cruise as well as ballistic can be hypersonic missiles. Both of them can be hypersonic missiles at any cost. You can't, because the fundamental difference between cruise and ballistic is what? The trajectory or the nature of its movement, right? That is one small difference that you need to understand. And look at this particular question, you would see that 66th question is with respect to what? They are asking which of the following are incorrect. Hypersonic flies at 5 Mach and highly maneuverable. Yes. Hypersonic glide vehicles are launched from. Okay. Ballistic missiles are different from hypersonic as ballistic cannot travel. No. I just told you that both of them can travel at hypersonic because it is merely about the speed, but whereas the difference is with respect to the way or the trajectory of its movement. Right? Ardhamatundamma? Right? Very good. Next. 67th question. It's with 66th answer is A. They're asking about incorrect statements. Only one is incorrect. Right? 67th it is D. That is with respect to conservation of Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. Next 68th. 68th. This was regarding your Red Sea, and what are the countries which are surrounding your Red Sea? Y seeds. Right? You see, where is your Red Sea? It's here. Sudan, Eritrea, Saudi, Yemen, Djibouti, and what is the other one? What is this E? Egypt. Ethiopia is landlocked. Ethiopia is landlocked, the other one is Egypt. Right? So, these are the countries which are surrounding your Red Sea, because Ajkal Houthi rebels, right? It has been going on. There was a lot of crisis that has been going on here. Next question on. That is with respect to South China Sea. It is second Thomas Shoal seen in the news. It is located in not East China Sea, it is South China Sea location. We know that something related to South China Sea, we have something called as 9-dash line, right? 9-dash line, and we see these Spratly Islands are in conflict with China, Taiwan, all of these regions. When you look at your parcel islands, this is with respect to China, Taiwan and Vietnam. When you look at Spratly, it is with respect to China, Taiwan, Vietnam, Brunei and Philippines, right? All of these are in conflict. Now majorly between which all countries, my dear? China, Taiwan, Malaysia, Brunei, Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia and Indonesia. Malaysia and Indonesia. We will have around 8 countries which are in conflict with respect to this South China Sea. Majorly East China Sea is in conflict with whom? Japan. It is with respect to Japan, right? So answer for 68th is D. Next, 69th. Nothing much to discuss about 69th. It is with respect to Ministry of Women, Child, whom? It is chairpersonship of not secretary, but it is the minister themselves. The minister themselves. So answer for 69th is only one statement is right. The eligibility is not between 6 to 18, but it is 5 to 18. It is 5 to 18. The minimum age has to be 5. And what is the consideration? The achievement should have been at least 2 years before the declaration of the award. The achievement should have been at least 2 years before the declaration of the award. So that is what is the criteria for 69th. When you look at 69th, the answer is A, only one. 70. 70 it is with respect to, again A, customer malware tool, it is by Google. It is by Google. Now 71st, you just understand something here with respect to FCRA. When you look at FCRA, certain changes were brought in with respect to FCRA apart from 1970s Act. One thing it said is, it almost banned everybody from taking foreign support. It almost banned everybody from taking foreign support. And it also said that only 20% of the funds of the NGOs can be used for administrative expenses. Only 20%. And whatever fund it is receiving, it has to be receiving from the branch of SBI which is located in Delhi. Now it is also saying, it also says that it can cancel the registration. But if the person has to, or if the NGO has to reapply, it can reapply. But the cooling off period is 3 years. It can reapply for the re-registration of the cancelled NGO only after 3 years of cancelling the registration. That means if today some NGO's registration is cancelled, I think some days back around 800 NGOs were, the registration was cancelled. Now if it is cancelled today, only in 2027 that person can go for re-registration. Right? And there is also a condition that the government can ban or government can seize the funding mechanism for that particular NGO for 6 months or 180 days. Right? That means you just remember that FCRA has been made more stringent with respect to the administration of NGOs. Just remember this much, right? Because in case if they have to make it more complex and they would ask upon FCRA, and I think FCRA has been very, very important in the recent past. Okay. So the answer for 71st is, 2 statements are incorrect, 2 statements are correct, right? Next, Competition Commission of India. Now, one underlying current of Competition Commission of India is free and fair business practices. Just remember this much, 2023 GS2 mains, we had a question on Competition Commission. If I'm not wrong, question number 4. You see that there was a question on Competition Commission of India. And the underlying current of this is free and fair business practices, right? And when you look at this, all the 3 statements are right with respect to Competition Commission of India. Next, 73rd. When you look at 73rd, it started with Bandung conference held in Indonesia in 1955. Yes. Its permanent secretariat is located in Indonesia. NAM doesn't have permanent secretariat. Right? That is very sure. Okay. Now, is India part of NAM? Are we the founding members? Definitely yes. We are one of the founding members with respect to NAM. Right? Is it the second largest grouping or largest grouping? Which is the first largest? The largest is UN. NAM happens to be the second largest. Right? Now tell me, are we having this NAM summits regularly? Is it annual or is it biennial? It happens every 3 years. The NAM summit happens every 3 years. It is not biennial, it is not annual, it is 3 years once. Right? 73rd, the answer is C. 2 is incorrect, 1 is correct. 74th, the answer is C. Please refer your explanations. I am not teaching much there. Next, 75. Site program. 74 answer is C. Right? 75. Site program is with respect to green hydrogen. Right? Now, when you observe this green hydrogen, we see different forms of hydrogen. Hannah, you have different names: brown, grey, blue, turquoise, right? We have pink, we have yellow. You name the color, it is there, right? And what is the fundamental source? You see, what is the source of energy to derive the hydrogen? If this is fossil fuel based, it is brown. If it is gas, it is grey. If it is nuclear energy, it is pink. If it is renewable energy, it is green. If it is only solar, it is yellow. It is depending upon what is the source of energy. What is the source of energy? Right? Now recently in August 2023, you see that the government and the Ministry of Renewable Energy had come up with a definition for green hydrogen. And what it said, it is called as green hydrogen if it has or production of only 2 kgs of carbon dioxide per every kg of hydrogen. Such an hydrogen is what is called as green hydrogen. It gave the definition. Recently your Ministry of Renewable Energy had come up with this definition upon the green energy. That means we see the 2 kgs of carbon emissions vis-a-vis 1 kg. For 1 kg of hydrogen we have 2 kgs of carbon emission, right? Next, this is what? This is the maximum. This is the maximum, right? So answer for 75th is B. 76th, A, hepatitis. 77. How many of you answered 77? What is it called as PEMBA? M-PEMBA? MEPMA? Hintamari? PEMBA effect. What is PEMBA effect? It says that hot water can freeze faster than cold water. Hot water can freeze faster than cold water. Immediately try. Right? You should try it or not. Right? Answer is C. Right? Nothing much. I don't know why they asked, but Chumma they asked. 78th question, Idate Commission. Nomadic tribes, because you see that we had one legislation called as Criminal Tribes Act 1881 or 1871, sorry. Criminal Tribes Act. Now what happened is, we see the British or the colonials had declared certain tribes to be inheriting criminal characters, and those tribes were declared as criminal tribes. On a later date post independence, what happens is these criminal tribes, they are either nomadic tribes or they are semi-nomadic or they are denotified tribes. They have been denotified from this tag of criminal tribes. Now what happens is these 3 tribes, that is the nomadic, semi-nomadic as well as denotified tribes, they are not part of scheduled tribes. They are not given the scheduled tribe status. There are 2 commissions which have been constituted. One is Idate Commission. The other one is Renke Commission. One is Idate Commission, the other one is Renke Commission. We see both of them constituted for looking into what? Constituted for looking into the welfare of these denotified tribes. Right? They don't have ST status. Right? They are considering to be considered under OBC. That is still a consideration. Otherwise, as such, we don't have any reservation provisions there. So, with respect to this 78th question, answer is B. 79th, answer is D. Lakshadweep. Certain aspects of this. You see that the northernmost is some reef, right, which is starting with C. If I tell you the name also, you will not remember, right? Which is the largest island here? Adrot. Adrot is the largest. Now when you look at 9-degree channel, it is between Lakshadweep Islands and Minicoy. Minicoy, 9-degree channel. 8-degree channel is Lakshadweep and Maldives. Lakshadweep and Maldives. 8-degree channel, right? So that is with respect to Lakshadweep, nothing much. You just have to remember 8 degrees, 9 degrees. The capital city, what is the capital city? Kavarati, right? You see, with respect to the northernmost, is some reef starting with C, right? Which is the largest? Adrot. It is all completely coral. It is all completely coral reef origin. Coral reef origin, right? So the answer for 79th is D. 80. Free movement regime. Free movement regime is between which all countries? India and Myanmar. How many states are bordering Myanmar? 4 states. Which all? Arunachal, Nagaland, Manipur and Mizoram. Namami. Right? Namami, Tripura. Tripura is not bordering with that, but Tripura is bordering with Bangladesh. Mizoram has borders with both Bangladesh as well as Myanmar. Right? So one simple understanding. So answer for 80th question is B. Right? Next, 81st. 81st, both the statements are right. What is the status of India's renewable energy? The status of India's renewable energy is, we see that we happen to be the 4th largest consumer of electricity, and we happen to be the 3rd largest producer of renewable energy, and we happen to be the 4th largest solar energy production, we happen to be the 4th largest wind energy production, right? 4th largest consumer, 3rd largest renewable energy source, then 4th largest solar, 4th largest wind, right? And in context, if you see that we see energy sources are divided into non-fossil and fossil. Under non-fossil, we see around 42% of energy is derived from non-fossil. Non-fossil will have renewable, non-fossil will also have nuclear. Please understand, nuclear energy is not renewable energy. Right? It was asked in my interview. Right? Is nuclear energy renewable energy? I said no. Ma'am was like, eh. But I still said no, because it is not. The nuclear energy is non-renewable energy. Right? Please be very clear. So 42% is non-fossil fuel. Fossil fuels are, rest how much? 58%. And what is the composition? Coal, oil, gas, diesel, lignite. Coal, oil, gas, diesel, lignite. All these are the sources with respect to your fossil fuel. Non-fossil fuel is that. You also understand the large hydel energy is part of non-fossil fuel. Large hydel energy is part of non-fossil fuel, which is part of your renewable energy. Which is part of renewable energy. What all constitutes your renewable energy? We see solar, wind, biomass, small hydel, large hydel. Right? Geothermal, is it renewable? Geothermal renewable? Kada? Yemma. Geothermal is renewable. Geothermal is renewable, right? So when you look at this particular question, answer is both of them are right. Okay. Next, 82nd question. Barpeta and Uttar Kamlabari. Endama. Monasteries. Option A. Neo Vaishnava order. Right? Who was this? Srimad Shankara Deva. You have somebody called as Shankara Deva, who was known to start Satriya Assam. Shankara Deva. Right? This was on this basis we had this 82nd A. Next, 83rd. Bhishma. Right? Bhishma lo M undi, medical lo M undi. So manaku option lo em undali? D undali. Avuna kada? Right? D is what? Medical readiness and response capabilities. I told you etymological approach. Right? So answer for 83 is D. How many answered 84th question? How many marked it as A? How many marked it as D? You knew it? Miremma. Telsa edo bettesa. Edo bettesa. What was the logic, my dear? Second statement? General, okay. First statement? It is not pre-programmed, my dear. It doesn't listen to any program. The philo boats do not listen to any program. Right? We see, these days China is working on snake boats. Ante enti? Paamulaga unte chetlu ekkutuntayi annamata. Right? China is known for all that. Snakes only. వాళ్ళ జీవితం మొత్తం ఈ పాముల చుట్టే తిరుగుతుంటది. Right? Next. So answer for 84 is D. 85, it is A. Right? A list of these lakes which are going extinct I have given you. Please refer to this list. Right? I think this is one exhaustive list I have given you. Jo bhi chahiye padna hai, pad lo. In this, please look at locations of them I have given and what is the sea's name. Right? In this, RLC has already been asked. Lake Pupu has been already asked. Lake Fagubin has already been asked. Right? So you please, where is Okavango Basin? Okavango. ఎందుకయ్యా Okavango, Congo, Gogo. భలే ఉన్నారయ్యా. Right? That's a good logic actually. It's not in Congo, although but it's in Botswana. Okavango Basin, it's in Botswana. Right? We see huge herd of elephants died because of some disease some days back. Okavango Basin. Okay. So you please refer to this list. So 85th answer is A. 86th B. Please read the solutions. I can't add anything much there. Right? 87. Amma, it is not Insta. It is INSAT. It is not Insta 3DS. It is INSAT 3DS. Meereem logic vaadaru? Insta, communication, and bettera? Baboy. Ennama idu? It is climate observation satellite. Em ade vaadava? It is climate observation satellite. Sir, in Insta also we can observe everything, sir. Did you use that logic? No. Right? So answer is B. 88. Kampala. Uganda. Why Kampala? Copper. Yo, COP UAE. Where is Kampala? Uganda. Why Kampala in news? IT Madras is going apart from that. We had NAM summit. Kampala. Right? Next, Wellington Island. Where is it? Which country? Wellington. Look at the name, my dear. UK or New Zealand? Very good. It's in India. Kerala. It's in Kerala. Right? So Wellington Island is in Kerala. India. Right? Next. Babu, nijamaya. It's in India. It's in Kerala. Right? You can check. Go and check. Right? Then Torkham border. What? Iran, Pakistan or Afghanistan, Pakistan? Afghanistan, Pakistan. Beautiful friends. So incorrectly matched what? 2. Right? Next. 89th. All 4 are correct. Please refer to the table. जो भी मैंने दिया ना इसमें, refer to that. Next. 90. Wedge Bank ecosystem, a part of the sea that is fertile fishing ground and rich in biodiversity, is located off the coast of which? India. Mera Bharat Mahan. India. Right? It's near Cape Comorin. That's where we see this fertile fishing bank happens to be there. Right? G77. It's only one statement. Please refer your explanation. Basically, G77 is to look into the Global South Cooperation. Global South Cooperation. Now, generally, why do we consider it as Global South? Why South? Combination of developing and least developed, LDCs. It is majorly the G77 is grouping of developing nations, right? So 91 is A, only one. 92, bail, meeku avasaram vastadi appudu. We see 3 तरीका के बेल होते हैं यार. एक तो anticipatory, one is regular, one is default bail. When you look at anticipatory, this is before arrest. Now that means if somebody comes to arrest you, you go and hide somewhere and say tuch. If you say tuch, they will catch you and go. Right? Don't be seen. And when you hide somewhere, what happens? They can't arrest you. Now when you can't arrest, how to be out of being arrested? Apply for anticipatory bail. Meeku panikoche cheptunna. Anticipatory bail, in that what happens? It is pre-arrest. Regular bail, post-arrest. Default bail, if the investigation process is incomplete, then a person is supposed to get default bail. When an investigation process is incomplete, a person is supposed to get default bail. And you see the default bail is a fundamental right, it is not statutory right. It's a fundamental right, it is not statutory right. Right? So answer is what? First statement is incorrect, so answer is D. 93rd, how many of you answered 93rd, my dear? Anybody answered 93rd? Do you think the first statement itself is a fallacy? Soda. మీరు కలుపుకునేది కాదు, కలుపుకుందరు ఎల్దురు, I can understand. Right? Soda lake. This is what, basic or acidic? Basic means pH should be above 7 or below 7? Above 7. What is the pH that is given? 1 to 5. Eliminate kar do usko. It is generally 9 to 11. Soda lakes have 9 to 11. Rest of the three statements are right. So answer is C. Next, 94. It is not CDAC, it is Election Commission. It is not CDAC, it is Election Commission. And apart from that, you also see, it is not going to be implemented, it was already implemented. In Telangana, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, these elections, MP elections, Mizoram, those 5 states had elections, no? Some days back. In that, they had already implemented this. Right? What do they do in this? They seize all kinds of money, saris, alcohol, biryani, all of this. They seize that, right? That is why we are talking about this ESMS, Election Seizure Management System. Right? Next, recently tetrahydrocannabidiol was in news. How many used etymology in this? Em vadavamma? Huh? Cannabis. Cannabis unda andulo? Cannabis. Cannabis ante enti? It's a kind of drug. It's a kind of drug, cannabis. Right? Now that is what it will have some antibiotic effects. Antibiotic. So option B. Next, 96. Option A, nothing much to discuss about that. You please refer. 97 में एक तरीका की डिस्कशन है बस लास्ट हो गया Now 97 they had interchanged the statements. They interchanged the statements, and when you look at this, in any form of gasification we have different kinds of gases. In any form of gasification we have different kinds of gases. It is water gas when it is having the carbon monoxides and hydrogen. It is producer gas. It is nitrogen and carbon monoxide. It is synthetic gas, or it is also called as syn gas. If it is carbon monoxide, hydrogen and carbon dioxide. And the last one is marsh gas. Marsh gas is nothing but your methane. Just observe this much. Just observe this much. Right? Now when you look at your coal gasification, what is the major gas that is present in coal gasification? It is methane. It is methane. Right? So answer for 97 is D, 98 D. 99, how many of you marked 99? What is the answer you marked? South India. South India. 99 it is B. 100. That list is there, all of them. Okay. Right? D. D for donkey. Right? Is this clear? See, from next discussion onwards, 2 minutes. In safe aa gaya 2 minutes. Right? Don't be like that fellow who went and hit the pilot. 2 minutes will finish everything. From next discussion onwards, we would phase it up even faster. Right? Today, initial introductory things were there. We will try wrapping it up maximum within 2 hours. Right? Maximum within 2 hours. Thanks for your patience. Right? Because I thought everybody will start pelting stones at me if I exceed 2 hours. But did you all learn something? We had some additions. Immediately take some patience, have some patience, go back and finish reading your explanations. With this momentum, it would hardly take 1 hour, 1.5 hours to finish your explanations. Finish them. Happily sleep. And see you tomorrow at 6 o'clock for HAR batch 2. Okay? Thank you, my dear.